Greetings. The focus of this lesson is culture. There are many different definitions of culture, in excess of hundreds. The one I have always used, I borrowed from Horton and Leslie many years ago, and it's highlighted on page 11 of your first study guide. It's everything socially learned and shared by the members of a group. So we're not using the term culture in perhaps what some of you might call conventional ways. We're not referencing to a bacteria culture, nor are we referencing certain categories of people or societies that are known for their refinements in the arts, etc. But really we're addressing a way of living, if you will. And there's a lot of different approaches that you can take to culture. One that I've always liked is to think of it, as noted on page 11, consisting of what we have, what we carry around in our heads, and what we do. Now if you go back to that first one, it's what we have. It's literally everything that we humans create materially, that has a material dimension to it. Artifacts and features. Artifacts are those human material creations that are highly portable, like your cell phone, like your car keys. On the other hand, some human-made things are simply too large, too complex to be carried around. They make up features, like, for example, buildings. But collectively, all that we have, all of these things that we have created that have a material dimension to them, make up what some social scientists and sociologists refer to as the material culture. But culture also consists of what we do. It's literally that third point. It consists of behavioral patterns and standards. Here we would incorporate appropriate forms of greeting, proper etiquette, play, work, laws and rules. All of these make up, again, that particular dimension of culture. So culture is exemplified, we can see it literally in how we and others behave. But we also carry culture around in our heads. It's what we think. It is comprised of cognitive elements like ideas, values, attitudes, classifications as to what's real and what isn't. For example, take a resource like money. Meanings associated with money can vary significantly over time and place. For example, money might be linked, as it is currently in the United States, to notions of worth and value, as well as productivity. Also, in the United States, money is generally considered in terms of arbitrary units, cents, dollars, and the like. All cultures provide their members with what some social scientists refer to as a world view, something we're going to elaborate on in greater detail in a later lesson. But a worldview consists of those cognitive elements, those things we carry around in our heads, and they provide the members of a culture with a particular view of nature, of people's relationship to nature and to other people. And likewise, worldview may incorporate within it interpretations of space and time. Literally, this particular aspect or element of culture, what we carry around in our heads, how we think, if you will, is linked directly to our capacity for language. It's through language that we create meanings and then attach them to persons, places, experiences, things, and the like. Now this third component, what we carry around in our heads, is again often referred to as the non-material culture. Bierstadt has a somewhat different approach, and I drew upon an illustration from Hensland to highlight how he interprets culture. And you'll notice some similarities to what we were already addressing. He highlights the fact that culture consists of ideas, norms, and material culture. And he provides some working examples of each one, as you can note. But what's very interesting is that he recognizes there's a link between ideas and norms. Now remember, norms are standards of behavior, sometimes nothing more than rules of etiquette, good manners. But in other cases, norms can be so centrally important that they're incorporated into the legal code of a particular society. They're just, again, rules of the game, if you will. So ideologies represent, or they consist of, a combination of ideas and social norms. There are some examples noted again on the screen, and you can probably come up with others. Some of these ideologies are religious in nature. Others have to do with appropriate economic arrangements. Still others have to do with perhaps an appropriate system of government. Some of these ideologies may very well have an exploitative character to them. For example, some of you might remember from American history, manifest destiny, which was used by some whites to justify taking lands that were once occupied by Native Americans. On the other hand, Bierstadt points out technologies, which are a kind of combination of material culture and norms. And there's lots of different and somewhat fascinating examples of technology. For example, as you will note on the screen, the technologies used to produce items, material items that you and I highly value, are automobiles, for example, cell phones, and the like. But on the other hand, you can look at technology from a somewhat different angle. I like this particular photograph. Ancient peoples often built really massive structures. This one is called Pueblo Bonito. It is located in what is today Chaco Canyon National Historical Park. It was built by ancient peoples today known as the ancestral Puebloans. In other words, the precursors of modern-day Pueblo Native American groups that inhabit what is called the Four Corners area of the United States, the only place where 4 states join at a common point: Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona. This huge structure that covers roughly 3 acres has in excess of 600 rooms and may have been 5 stories in height. It was constructed in stages beginning in AD 850 and culminating in 1150 AD. What's quite interesting is that it required, its building, not only architectural skills, but appropriate building materials had to be found. They had to then be produced and transported to the site. In addition, the workers had to be trained, supervised, and so forth. They had to create suitable tools. What's most fascinating about this structure is that the people who built it used only stone tools. And all of these activities had to take place in an appropriate or correct order if the project was to be completed. Now, when you reflect on this, and here is an aerial view of the same structure, Bear in mind that such structures may have also been linked to ideologies. One of the many theoretical arguments that have been offered with respect to the purpose of these large structures in Chaco Canyon might have been that they weren't used for habitation, but may have had significant religious, or for that matter, sacred purposes. Or they might have served as an economic redistribution center. But there are a number of these clustered in a particular area of Chaco Canyon. Now, in later lessons, we're going to go into even more detail about what comprises culture. Don't just think of it as things we do, what we carry around in our heads, and what we've created. Remember that culture is a shared blueprint for all of these elements. It's constantly undergoing change. It's capable of adjustments. And likewise, it's something that's learned and transmitted through language. Until next time.